In Georgia in the year 2011, a 17-year-old boy's life was tragically cut short. On May 28, 2011, 17-year-old Blake Chappell was assaulted by his girlfriend's stepfather at the Hunters Bridge Trailer Park in Jonesboro, Georgia. Blake was briefly living there at the time of the assault. According to the Clayton County Police report, Blake told officers the man punched him in the face, knocked him to the ground and kicked him in the head. Blake later texted about the incident to a friend in Florida, saying his ex ran away to where he was, and he was on his way to call her parents when her dad showed up with two other guys with guns, telling all his friends he was going to kill him. On June 1, 2011, a warrant was issued for Blake for non-custodial interference in relation to the May 28 assault on him, because his ex-girlfriend ran away to be with him. On June 2, 2011, Blake Chappell was arrested. On June 18, 2011, Blake finally raised $2,500 bail and was released from jail. A court date was set for October 2011, with the charges eventually dropped. In the summer of 2011, Blake's mother moved Blake away to live in Sonoy, Georgia due to her fear for him after the incident, and refused to allow Blake to have contact with his friends in Clayton County, so that the stepfather could not track him down. During the afternoon of Saturday, October 15, 2011, Blake's mom Melissa took Blake to get a tie as he prepared to attend the homecoming dance with his girlfriend Ryan. At around 5:30 p.m. that evening, Shannon, Ryan's mother, drops Ryan and Blake to have dinner at Tokyo Japanese Steakhouse before the dance because Blake loved sushi. Between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Blake and his girlfriend Ryan arrived at East Coweta High School for the homecoming dance. Blake and his girlfriend both had a good time at the homecoming dance and enjoyed themselves. Sometime around 10:30 p.m., Blake and Ryan are picked up by Shannon, who takes the couple back to her home. Ryan's house was located on Avondale Circle in the Parks of Olmsted subdivision next to Welch Elementary School. At approximately 11:30 p.m., Shannon drives Blake to his friend Austin Harmon's house to stay the night, on the west side of Summer Grove on Highwoods Parkway. While at Austin's house, Blake calls his mother using Austin's phone to tell her about the dance, because Blake only had a text message plan on his new phone that he had gotten the week before. According to an interview with Blake's mother Melissa, during this phone call, Blake talked about how much fun he had at the dance, and how it was the best day of his life. At around near midnight on October 15, 2011, after calling his mom, Blake and Austin walked over to the BP gas station at the entrance to Summer Grove. They were hoping to buy some cigarettes even though both were underage. The store was closed and the two walked back. Austin said they got back to his house shortly after midnight. Austin said he and Blake texted some friends and just hung out. On Sunday, October 16, 2011, Ryan got a text about 2 a.m. from Blake saying he was coming over to her house. Ryan said she fell back to sleep after she read his text. Between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. on Sunday, October 16th, Austin said Blake came into his room and said he was going over to Ryan's house. He was wearing black pants and had on a white t-shirt, Austin recalled. I gave him my jacket and a house key to get back in. After he left, I went to sleep. He never heard from Blake again. About 4:30 that morning, Ryan said she woke up again and had a text from Blake saying he was coming over. He tried to scare me when he got here, Ryan said. His girlfriend also said he climbed through the window. I remember he was freezing. She said Blake was wearing his black pants and had one of his white hoodies. Based on descriptions from Austin and Ryan, Blake was not wearing Austin's jacket when he arrived at Ryan's. Austin said he never got his jacket back. Melissa said Blake's hoodie had the word Aeropostale across it in brown letters, which was not what Austin had given Blake to wear. Ryan and Blake laid down on Ryan's bed and talked about the day. They had plans to meet at 11 a.m. and hang out. He told me he loved me and no matter whatever happened to him, he would always love me, she remembered. About that time, Ryan's grandmother walked in. I remember Blake trying to hide under the covers, Ryan said with a laugh. My grandmother said she was going to get my mom and walked out. Blake asked me if I wanted him to go and I said yes. He kissed me and started going out the window. Around 5 a.m. Shannon walked in Ryan's room. She was not happy. Blake started sending texts saying he was sorry, Ryan said. Then he'd say, "Tell your mom I'm sorry." He said he was sorry in every text. The texts continued with Shannon and Ryan both texting Blake on Ryan's phone. At some point, Shannon said she started texting Blake on her phone, telling him everything would be okay. Shortly before 5:30 a.m., Blake sent a text to Ryan's phone. According to Ryan, Blake said a cop was pulling him over. He mentioned he was near a bridge. Blake was not familiar with the Summer Grove area and the common consensus among police and friends is that Blake was walking along Lower Fayetteville Road, the easiest way for him to get back to Austin's house. A few minutes later, Blake texted back, saying the cop looked at his ID, asked him where he was going and let him go. Former Newnan Police Deputy Chief Rodney Riggs said there is no record of any law enforcement officer stopping Blake that morning. Around 5:30 a.m., Blake texted Ryan something on the lines of, "Damn, it's cold out here." It was his last message. That Sunday morning, Shannon went into Ryan's room to see if Blake had contacted her. He had not. She finally told Ryan around 9:30 a.m. to contact Austin and see if Blake was there. He wasn't. A possible sighting of Blake was made at 7:30 a.m. A clerk at the BP station in Summer Grove was shown a photo of Blake and told Ryan he saw Blake earlier that morning. Around 7:30 a.m. Blake asked when the store opened and the clerk told him 8 a.m. Blake left in an unknown direction. Other sightings, according to friends out looking for him, included at the Quick Trip on Highway 34 and also sitting outside at Bruster's on Newnan Station Drive. Police investigators, however, don't believe those individuals mentioned were Blake. A little after 11 a.m., Austin flagged down a passing Newnan police patrol car and told them Blake was missing. An officer called Melissa around 11:30 a.m. and told her to file a missing person report. The search continued with more friends joining in throughout the day. Melissa said that, for some reason, she believed she just needed to stay by the phone, but her boyfriend went out and joined the search. Blake did not show up at his scheduled court date on October 24, 2011 for his June charge of non-custodial interference. On approximately November 22, 2011, Blake's mother Melissa received a strange phone call from a blocked number, around 5 weeks after Blake went missing. On December 19, 2011, after extensive searches, Blake's body was finally discovered when passers-by reported the body in Summer Grove. Blake Chappell was found only in his undershirt and underpants laying face down in a creek near a bridge in Summer Grove Parkway. Decomposition had begun on the body and no form of identification was found on or around the body. The body was subsequently taken for an autopsy to the GBI Medical Examiner's office in Decatur. The autopsy revealed Blake Chappell died from a gunshot wound. He was identified through a tattoo and a piece of jewelry found on his body. It was unclear how long his body had been in the creek. Investigators stated they were treating Blake's death as a homicide. Blake's clothes and phone were taken by his killer or killers. His phone has never been recovered. Former Newnan Police Deputy Chief Rodney Riggs said that the investigators do not have a suspect, adding police do not believe drugs or gang activity were factors in the fatal shooting. The investigators acknowledged Blake was killed by someone firing at close range and only stated that the caliber was between a .22 and a .45 and was not a shotgun. They did not name any other injuries other than the gunshot wound. On December 29, 2011, friends and family gathered for a memorial service at McCoon Funeral Home on Jefferson Street in Newnan, Georgia. A tribute was made for Blake Chappell by his friends and loved ones. Blake loved Guitar Hero and Blake's favorite song was Carry On My Wayward Son by the group Kansas, which was played at his funeral. Blake was described as a very happy guy and enjoyed life. On May 28, 2011, Blake Chappell was in a relationship with a different girl at the time who was 16 years old. In May 2011, she ran away from home and went to Blake. Her mother and stepfather went out to look for her. He briefly lived in the Hunter Bridge Trailer Park in Jonesboro, Georgia, where his then-girlfriend lived. According to the May 28, 2011 Clayton County Police report, the police responded to a disturbance call at the park. Once there, they met Blake, who told them he had been hit in the face, thrown to the ground and then kicked twice more in the face. A witness said the suspect, the girlfriend's stepfather, went up to him and asked where Blake was, then lifted his shirt, showing a handgun, and said he was looking for Blake, then left with another unknown male. Clayton officers stated in their report that the witnesses said that the stepfather then grabbed his stepdaughter and put her in the trunk of the vehicle he arrived in and drove off. The information that she was thrown in the car was not accurate. Blake and his girlfriend at the time stopped seeing each other. Blake's charge of non-custodial interference and his case was dropped and nolly-prossed because the prosecution decided to, in light of the circumstances surrounding Blake. The stepfather told the judge at Clayton County Court he would drop the case provided he never saw Blake again. Attempts to reach the stepfather for communication were unsuccessful. It has also been rumored that the stepfather has impersonated as a police officer in the past. I think Blake would have likely recognized him if he was the person who pulled him over and mentioned his name.
Alright, preliminary to acrophobia. This is gonna be epic. Here we go.
Oh no! Oh, there's no more. I want to watch you guys. I have one thing right here.
Make sure I don't leave my hat.
right now. If you're ready to ride, say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Out to the skating area, 21 ready, 32 ready, pass, putting in a slide inside.
Shit. There's Goliath. That motherfucker is a beast for real.
Hey, we're gonna drive you from this tower. It's gonna drop so fast you're gonna holler. Only get your body shake. Don't stop it, just let it shake.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Woo! Yeah! Yeah! That was the acrophobia.
The mother of Blake Chappell is still looking for answers, and question marks remain as to why anyone would do this to such a vibrant young man.
A 17-year-old vanished after his homecoming dance, and he was found only in his underwear in Aquita County Creek months later, and his killer is still walking free. It's been nearly 10 years now since Blake Chappell's horrific and mysterious death, and it's still never been solved. Our Savannah Levins has been digging into this cold case and the search for the homecoming killer.
Blake Chappell was the kind of kid who was friends with everyone, a huge heart, no enemies, and that's one of the many reasons his murder has remained a mystery.
He was one of the funniest people I knew.
Max Gibbs remembers his buddy Blake like it was yesterday.
If you were down in a bad mood, he would make you laugh somehow.
And Melissa Becker
He always looked at the best in people.
holds on tight to the memory of her little boy.
He loved people. His friends were so very important to him. I don't think he ever had an enemy in his life.
She also remembers the night of October 15th, 2011, sending her baby off to homecoming. And later that night, Blake calling from his friend's house where he was supposed to be sleeping over.
He said, "Mom, I had so much fun. It was, the best day of my life. I got to hang out with my friends and dance."
What happened after that phone call is a mystery that's still haunting. Blake seen walking to his girlfriend's house and not long after leaving to walk back to his friends, but he never made it.
The friend that he stayed the night with calls me and says, "Blake's missing." I'm like, what do you mean Blake's missing? Well, he went to his girlfriend's and he never came back.
The search lasted 2 agonizing months.
We started calling him, and nobody could get in touch.
It's like he just disappeared off the face of the earth.
And then in December 2011, Melissa got the call. Her little boy had been found dead in a creek in East Noonan. He'd been shot and left in only his underwear.
My world stopped that day. I couldn't believe it. I had hope that he was going to walk down that driveway.
Everything we've received has been run down and vetted and rolled out at this point.
Lieutenant Chris Robinson with Noonan PD took over the case in 2019. By then, they'd interviewed dozens of people, followed every lead, but never could figure out who killed Blake or why.
Without the community support and people who know something coming forward, then it just makes it about impossible to get anywhere right now.
Blake's phone, wallet, and clothes disappeared. Police don't know if he was killed the night he went missing or if he was kidnapped and the killer dumped his body later. And they don't know who could have done this. But someone out there does.
Somebody knows something.
And so now, a decade later, the plea for answers, for justice, continues.
He was just an innocent child. I just want to know why.
Blake Chappell's murder case remains unsolved 11 years later. His family are still looking for answers and his case needs more attention.